Boomerocity, and I've got another fun one for you. This is with the band called the Squirts. Now, if you're a die-hard music lover, then there's a real good chance you may have heard of these guys when they came out with their first album, oh, I don't know, 20 or so years ago. The band is made up of our good friend Matt Bissonette. You've seen Matt on here before as a solo interview, as well as his interview with Andy Timmons and the other guys from the band The Redcoats. Matt tours with Kevin Cronin now, but before that, he was with Elton John's final tour for those last 3 years. Immediately after that tour, he was with REO Speedwagon, which is now the Kevin Cronin band. And Matt is just a great guy, warm heart, very fun to talk with. But he's had this side project called The Squirts for a bunch of years now. And they've come out with their third album. His bandmates in The Squirts is George Bernhardt on guitar and Rodger Carter on the drums. Now, those guys have been, all three have played with Rick Springfield and their great band in the past. They're not with Rick now, but they're still great friends with Rick. And George has played with Matt in the Mustard Seeds, and Rodger has played with a whole slew of people, including, Gene Simmons comes to mind, a bunch of others. He's played with Glenn Campbell's another one that comes to mind. So these guys are the top of the top when it comes to touring and or session work in the music business. And you're going to love their sound on this album. I encourage you to buy it, support our musicians, but it's worth the purchase because it's so good. So good. So give it a listen. And if you like it, buy it. So these guys, we had a great chat, a lengthy chat about how this album come together, a little bit on the history of the band, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and I think you're going to enjoy investing your time and listening to this interview. While you're at it, would you please hit like and subscribe? Neither going to cost you, but it sure helps us out a lot. And also share the interview with others, especially with those who love hearing great music that you may not otherwise hear about, coming from some of the best musicians in this business. And I don't say that with any hyperbole. It is the truth. So without any further ado, here's my first interview with the Squirts, but my third interview with Matt Bissonette, but the first time with George and Rodger. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Lives in the Sylvan Park area. Oh my gosh, there's trouble.
I love
there
you,
is trouble.
sexy people. Were you guys talking? Were you talking about me?
Yeah.
Hey, Randy, how are you,
fun.
How are
man,
you?
it's been so long since I've seen you, Matt.
I know, man. Hopefully, you didn't get too much trouble from the old REO camp. Crazy hatred. Oh man! Oh, you missed it last night. We were playing in Jacksonville, and Dave's guitar went out halfway through the show. For like 4 songs, we had to just kind of.
Did the power go out, or just some kind of technical issue?
It was just something with the amp. They couldn't figure it out either. It was like very, very strange. Even to the point where Kevin goes, "Hey, Matt, got any jokes?" It was like one of those things.
No, you don't have any jokes.
No, it was good. Oh,
you could tell them all the bass player jokes you've heard over the years.
Yeah, right. All 4 of them. Hey, so is this work okay? Is the sound work okay? Can you hear me okay?
It may be my earpieces, but you sound a little faint to me, but that may just be on my end.
Are you hearing the music in here? I'm wondering if I should go out someplace else.
No, I don't hear any music. You're fine.
Okay.
We can pull you up later in editing. So
okay, cool. All right,
but,
cool. Georgie, how are you?
I'm pretty good, man. How are you doing?
Good. You got any goats around here?
Well, I just fed the little ones, so I think they're napping now.
Okay.
I've got 2 little ones outside, and then I've got 2 babies in the garage, just born like, I don't know what, 4 days ago.
Really? Congratulations. Oh, yeah. Are you breastfeeding?
Pretty amazing little buggers.
Are you breastfeeding, George?
Always, you know me. You know.
George, your milk is lactose intolerant.
It's 2%.
What's up with drummers, man? Where's our drummer?
I don't know, man.
Fashionably late. You know,
Well, you know,
I hate.
talk about
Oh,
breastfeeding. There's a joke around here that, I live here in Sevierville, Tennessee, Dolly Parton's backyard, right? And so somebody said that they had a nightmare that Dolly Parton gave birth to him. And they said, well, why is that a nightmare? And said, well, she was formula feeding. So,
nice, nice.
ouch.
Are
ouch.
you guys? Are you guys both in Tennessee then? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Randy's in the Smoky Mountains, someplace I have to go and visit, which
Yeah.
is probably like maybe 3 hours away from me.
Hmm.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Hey George, you know Paul Dexter, right? From my buddy Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just moved to Nashville, so you got to hook up with
Where's
him.
he, in Hendersonville?
I don't know. Someplace around you. I don't know.
Well, heck, you're going to have to text me his number. I'll definitely reconnect with Paul.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's a good guy.
there's Rodger.
Oh, let's see, the star of the show.
Doghouse Studios.
Here he comes. Everything's about to change. I like your background, Randy.
Well, I was going to get a group vote because I had two different kind. Welcome, Rodger. All right, so here's the one, and then here is the other. Which do you guys like the most?
That one's a little much, I think.
That one? Okay. Yeah, it kind of screams
You know
at
what,
you.
you know what
doesn't
my background is? Things Matt's selling. Look. Oh, this
Hi, Roger. How's our drummer doing?
look, we got the bass. I'm good. I'm good.
Looking healthy.
Yeah, all right. That's good. Better than the alternative. Come here.
Yeah.
Well, man,
Randy,
I'm glad
this-
you guys agreed to talk to little old me, and we have been looking forward to this because the publicist, I guess he's with the label, Dave. He I saw Matt's name on the Squirts one sheet that went out, and I said, hey, I want to talk to these guys. I want to talk to all of them though.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and he said, you and Matt just work it out. So we talked about.
We did.
He texted you guys while we were standing there in Greenville, South Carolina, and
Oh, yeah.
got this all worked out. So
Yeah, just so you guys, just so you Squirties know, we were playing last week in Greenville, and Randy came out to the show with his
Oh,
new
how fun.
girlfriend.
Cool.
So
So-
we talked about it, and I'm just going to answer all the questions. You guys just sit there and don't say anything.
look pretty. So
Yeah.
so
That's hard to do these days.
yeah. Well, you look at me. No
Well,
amount
let's
of
go.
facelifting will help.
Hey, we're all still here.
So how did you guys, I mean, first of all, I got to tell you, when doing my research, first of all, I saw the one sheet and I loved the line in there where he said, all right, you guys, no jokes about the name. Don't get your mind out of the gutter. So when I'm doing the research on you guys, on the band, I put in the Squirts, and let's just say I got every medical online medical journal.
We're trying to do our best to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt,
Well,
Matt. Matt, weren't you saying that you saw somebody comment online that he said
yeah.
name kills it for me?
all these nice things were said, and at the bottom, one guy goes, "I can't get past that name." The honest truth is we did call it the Squirts just because we're all really into the Three Stooges and like Little Rascals, all that stuff, and it was kind of an innocent kind of a thing. And then when we did our first album, we got a lot of like the Squirts. We got into people finding weird things, and we were just too lazy to change it. And we really, our intention was pretty innocent, but you know the world.
I love it. It's all good. So
Oh my
what
God.
made you guys, I mean, I've read the background, but for viewers that will tune into this, how'd you guys get together? What made you decide? Because I love the story. And by the way, the guy you're going to mention, I don't know if you saw his post. I think it was today or yesterday, plugging your album.
Oh.
And it's Rick Springfield, almost said Rick Derringer, rest in peace. But
Oh, yeah.
he said you guys were his ninth favorite band. So,
Hey,
He
man, that's
also
pretty
said
good.
he has us on rotation in his bathroom.
Yeah. Well,
I can only imagine.
you guys feel that question. How did we come together?
It was in with the Rick Springfield band because you and I were already there, Matt, and then Roger, after Jack White had left, a he was auditioning drummers, and then Roger came in. So that was the basis of the beginnings of the Squirts. Anyways, it was Rick's band.
We went up to Matt. Matt was the only one with a studio back then. So we were at his studio on, when we were in LA with some time off. And I think we were just going to try to make some music to get TV placements. I think that's how this started. And we did get a lot of placements, but I don't know, Matt may have thrown a song at us but that's how it happened. We started in Matt's studio and one song led to two, and then like, hey, let's just make a record. And then
By the way, Roger,
then I had
where
to
are
get
you?
busy writing all the songs myself.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Rod. I appreciate that. Appreciate your humility.
Roger, where are you clicking in from? I forgot to ask you that.
Los Angeles.
Ah, okay. So you're
Actually, it's Woodland Hills, 79653 Cleon Street.
so so you guys got together. Basically, Rick was the hub for you guys. How you all kind of got together and
Yeah.
I
Well,
saw another.
Matt and George were in a band many years before, like a really cool band called the Mustard Seeds.
Yes, that's
So they
right.
knew each other.
Yeah, George and I met. Well, George and I met when I was a staff writer at Island Music in LA. George was in a band called Bo Nasty, and they had a record deal, and they were looking for other songwriters to finish out their album. And then George and I just got to be buddies. And then I remember George when we put the band together. So we played in the Mustard Seats for a long time, and we've been in the Squirts for even longer, which is pretty crazy to think about it.
It
Yeah.
has. It's yeah. There's some time definitely passed here, which is awesome. Looking back at it now.
George, your studio looks nice, man. You didn't
Yeah,
have that back in the old days.
yeah. I finally got it. I think dialed in.
It's from all those
Cool.
squirts royalties.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I've talked to Matt several times with, just from a gee whiz thing because a mutual friend of ours introduced us, Ryan Richardson up in Canada. And then we, right after that interview, he had the thing with the Redcoats, Andy Timmons and those guys. And now this, what I'm struck by about musicians, and I'm not a musician. I don't, I even suck at air guitar, but I'm just a fan. I'm not a journalist. I just know what I like. I love the business of music and hearing all the stories and
Who
stuff.
do you like better, the Redcoats or the Squirts?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I like the Redcoats myself.
It's like anything, every band that I like listening to or every artist, it's for their own specific reasons, but what I'm seeing more and more of is just this mixing and remixing of great artists getting together, great musicians, and they're the top shelf, talking with Josh Smith a couple weeks ago, all the different people, all the different genres he deals with, and plus touring with Bonamassa and all that. It just seems like there's this rising tide of excellence that's taken place that I hope the market appreciates and supports and purchases the music on. You guys are a great example of that. Of just how well you guys blend together and how you just feed off of each other. How did that first, and when did you guys first realize that was going to be a key ingredient for y'all?
Guys,
Well, when
You
we
guys,
got
something real
together,
quick. Is Matt in where it's 4 pictures. Is Matt below me?
No, you guys are side by side. On my screen, you're side
Uh,
by side on the lower level.
right here,
George and I are running this thing on the
I
top
could
level.
pick Matt's nose from up here. Wait, there it is.
Take it, Raj.
Sorry about that, man. Sorry. You were saying? I'm
You
sorry.
know, drummers, they're always going off the beaten path.
It started at Matt's studio when we were writing those jingles, and then we kind of veered off of that and wrote, riffs are always, Matt's got riffs, I got riffs or whatever. And, we just started goofing off with ideas, and it was on the fly at Matt's studio. And then, we listened back to it, and it was like, wow, this sounds pretty good. We'd go back out on the road with Rick. We'd meet at the airport, and we'd have MP3s or whatever of mixes, of what we did that week prior to leaving. And we sat back and we listened to it, and we went, wow, this sounds pretty cool. Just the stuff that we were goofing off with. So I think it all kind of spawned from there. It was like, hey, this sounds good. Maybe we should try something. Just let's put our heads together, and as opposed to just goofing off and doing, kind of jingle kind of things or trying to get music placements, let's put something together, put our heads together and put our talent together and see what we come up with. And that's how it all kind of spawned from that thing. And, it's kind of been an on off sort of thing from that point on. We got the first CD done, and we got it done relatively quick. Matt, it started with Matt at the Curb in LAX. Hey Rick, we got a band, and we're going to record a CD, and we'll have it done in 2 weeks. And sure enough, we didn't get it done in 2 weeks. I think we got it done in like a month, and then we handed it to Rick and said, "Hey, Matt, once again, hey, we'll be your opening band." Sure enough, Rick liked the CD and got on the phone with his manager. I have my opening act. And it all just exploded in that sense. Just everything, one thing led to another, which led to another, which led to another. And so it's just been kind of on and off from that point on.
I think Springfield legitimately digs this band. He would, before we were opening for him, he would show up at the venue maybe 20, 30 minutes before he goes on stage. He doesn't like hanging out backstage and getting, he just wants to keep things rolling. But when we would play, he would get to the venue early many times just to check out the band. So he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Rick was amazing through the whole thing because he didn't have to do any of this stuff. He's just become a really good friend of us, of all of us. And I think it was Rodger that actually brought it up to Rick. He said, "Hey, we played them the records and stuff." And I think when we first started, we were doing a lot of licensing, and we were all making really good money because at that time, I think this was 2002, three, something like that. You could make a buttload of money just writing songs, giving them to publishers. They would just throw them out onto TV and movie stuff. And we were just cracking up because we're making all this money from, mailbox money, we call it. And then the music business changed with the iPhone and all the licensing and people wanting to license, put their names on the episodes and give away their music. So bands started giving away their music. So that business just died in a day.
Wow.
And it's just really a sad another reason why musicians shoot themselves in the foot all the time. So, but we just kept recording, and then I think at that point we finally decided let's just make it a record. And then when Rodger brought it up to Rick at the because we would get there super early for the flights because we used to carry all our gear on the plane in the old days. We didn't have like mobile gear at that time. All our guitars, everything checked in. Our friend Ronnie Grinnell just worked his butt off to take care of everything.
Workaholic.
Yeah. So I think Rodger approached Rick, and Rick just kind of went for it really quickly and said, "Yeah, let's do it." And then we would open up for Rick, which was like a glorified sound check for Rick because it was all the same gear. And so when Rick came up, it just sounded that much better. Rick's not dumb. Rick's a pretty smart guy. He's kind of going, if these guys open up, I'm gonna sound that much better. But he also did it because I think he genuinely loved us, and we loved that guy. And it was really cool. When I look back at that, I'm thinking how cool that is that somebody would just open up their opening slot to us. It's He's a good guy, that Rick Springfield. I
How
think
many
have
other
to
artists would do that? You see, that was amazing though.
Yeah.
Really fortunate on our.
people can get a little territorial about things sometimes, and it
Absolutely.
doesn't, and especially in the arts, the ego can get in the way. But I have to confess about Rick. The first time, I mean, of course, I heard him on the radio. I knew he was on TV, but I mean, if I were to interview him, I'd have to be honest with him. But I would have to say, dude, I just tuned you out on the radio. But then when I saw him in concert, what was it, Matt? About a year and a half or so ago, when we first met in person, he opened for REO, and I was blown away. Up to that point, I just figured he was, maybe a more adult version of Donny Osmond or something. All the chicks went for him, all that kind of thing. But my Lord, that dude can rock. Very good.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I think that's what happens when you're first known as an actor. I mean, Rick is an actor, and he's a really good actor. That bit that he does on Saturday Night Live with Jesse's Girl, I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but it just kills me. And he's a really good actor, and he got pinned kind of as as actors do that with the music thing. But he is an amazing songwriter, singer, and an entertainer. I mean, he is a real bona fide rock star, and we all see it every time we played with him. It's like if you're getting in the same room with him, if you're at a bar or something, and you're walking with him, you're just going to get mangled by girls. I remember one time I tried to help Ronnie Brunell by being Rick's security, getting him from point A to point B, and I almost got knocked on my butt. I mean, I physically got knocked over by girls just going for him. So it's pretty weird being around that, but I got to hand it to Rick that when he goes home, he's just a regular guy. He goes home to his wife Barbie, and life goes on, and he kind of lives that normal life until he goes out with us on the road, and just is this rock star. I mean, it's just a crazy thing to be around.
Yeah, he's a great entertainer on stage for sure. Can't take that. Even if someone said, "Yeah, I don't like this music," you got to give it up for the guy on stage. And I'm not talking about his age. I'm, since I met him, what was it, like 25 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Great entertainer.
Well, he impressed the heck out of me for whatever that's worth, because I wasn't expecting it. I really didn't, because I really didn't follow him. I mean, I was aware of him, but it's like, oh, this dude can do it. And he was playing the video behind him of one of the songs on there, kind of that voodoo vibe thing that he had going on one of the songs, as I recall. But I was genuinely impressed. And I tried to get an interview with him. We had it all set up, and then the fires happened out there. So, and then we never got it rescheduled.
I heard that he started those fires. Just maybe that.
Rick, the doors are open for your rebuttal on this. You've heard it. The gauntlet's been thrown down.
I got to clear the air with some, though, because everyone says, "Oh, he looks so great for 75," and he does. But the truth in the matter is he just goes in the closet and jumps in a Rick Springfield suit and sets it up, and that's what's going on in reality.
I saw online. I saw that picture that you're talking about, and I could see part of his zipper hanging up. I think
when he unzips at the end of the night, believe me, you don't want to be around.
You don't want to see that.
Or if he sees this is going to be a hoot. So
that's the thing, though. If he saw this, he would laugh.
He would laugh. He's pretty much one of the funniest guys I've ever met. He's too funny for this world.
Well, the post that I saw on there where he was plugging your album, I think he said something to the effect of, "Would you guys please buy this CD so they'll quit pestering me?" So
yeah, there's a little humor in there, but a little truth, because we were kind of, "Hey, buddy, put this thing on your website or whatever." I don't know how. I think we all probably contacted them like 10 times. So there's a little bit of truth in everything.
So you're saying us fans need to start reading between the lines now, huh? Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely.
Right. Well, on this album, you guys had two others. I love the cover of the first one. That's your son on there, isn't it, Matt? Josh?
Yes, it's my son who's 28 now, and we kind of all tinkered with the idea of putting him on the third one. like with his full beard now and just kind of
That
like,
would have been killer, Matt.
yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, but then now I think about all these years later, was it really cool to put my son's picture on an album with, without him really knowing you're going to be there, but it was pretty, we have a video.
Might be considered child abuse, huh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, speaking of child abuse, you want to hear a funny story? We're at
Yeah.
Rodger's studio 20 years ago, recording in his backyard. He has a studio called the Doghouse Studio. Great drum room in the back of his house and great studio. And my wife is there, and she's singing, and I'm singing on some songs that Rodger was producing with the band. So my son was probably about 6 or 7, and he's hanging out in the backyard at Rodger's house. Rodger's got like turtles all over the place, and my son's walking around. And so Rodger thought it would be a good idea to duct tape my son's whole body with duct tape, his mouth, his arms, his legs.
With duct tape.
Yeah, and my wife was inside singing in the studio, and then I knock on the door, and there's my son, kind of dripping a little bit of blood, and he didn't know what to do, so he ran like this and just wiped out. And then Rodger just looked Rodger looked so guilty. He comes up and he goes, "Don't tell your wife, man, but I think I just messed up your son." So my wife came out, and Rodger's like hiding behind a rock. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, that's not exactly how it went down, but yes, it freaked me out because he did his head. But it's funny because after all that, he went up to Matt and Matt's wife, and the first thing he said is, "It's not Rodger's fault."
You mean the first thing he said was after you took the tape off his mouth?
Yeah, right.
It's not Rodger's fault. But the cool thing about Josh, my son, being around then is we have a video from the second album, the Resquirted album, called "The Way I See You," and it's a really cool video of us playing. But then there's a whole other band of my son when he's probably about 9, with a propeller hat, and our friend, just 3 young kids playing. My brother's son Noah playing guitar, and then it shows them, and then it shows my dad and 2 other guys, older guys, that play as an older version of us in the video. And every time I see that, I almost cry because I think about succession of time and passing the torch and all that stuff. So, yeah, my son's been around through the whole thing. It's pretty cool.
Now he plays baseball, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He just played a game last night in Fargo, and the fires were so bad from Canada, they were going to cancel the game, but they're almost all like wearing masks playing last night. But yeah, he's still playing. Pretty great.
Yeah, the smoke's down here in the Smokies too. Everybody thinks it's our smoke, but it's I think it's all coming from Ryan Richardson's doobie he lit up there. So
Totally.
Canadian cannabis that Ryan Richardson.
That's right.
Great guy, that Ryan guy.
Oh, I love him. He's a wonderful man. I really do. We've talked a lot about Christian music together, and he because we both were big fans of that, and I'd go way back to when it all started and following those guys.
Oh yeah, they're great. His wife's great too. Great harp player. Great family.
Yeah. So on this new album, you had this stuff kind of collecting. Is that what it is? You just had some songs writing for other stuff, and then you say, "Oh, this sounds like a Squirty one, so let's put this over here." Or did you guys just woodshed it and come up with a bunch of great songs?
Kind of both. There was one.
I think everything's new except for the one tune, right?
Yeah, that one tune.
What tune is that?
I can't even remember the name of the
Oh,
song.
in Paradise. That song.
Yeah.
But there's another song, When You Die, was something that we wrote when we were doing licensing. We were playing in Milwaukee with Rick, and one of George's friends had a studio in his basement. So we tracked like 10 songs really fast, bass, drums, and guitar. And then George listened one day to an old cassette of one of those songs. So we took that song and made it into that. But everything else just kind of steamrolled. We start with one idea, and then George would send something, Rodger would send something, and it just kind of happened really fast, even though it started during COVID and it ended, however long ago it was that we finished. But it took a little longer than we thought, but there was a lot of stuff going on. Everybody had things going on, and which is life. But we're happy with the way it came out, and I want to put out a special kudos to George for mixing it so well and being so patient with it, and being a great engineer and mixing guy. So George,
Well,
thank you.
man. Thanks.
George.
It was a labor of love, Matt.
Was it?
It was a labor of love,
Was it
indeed.
really?
No, I actually loved it. I was scared that I wouldn't do it justice, nervous, but you guys had always put in your 2 cents, which definitely helped immensely, and I appreciate it.
You are totally wired to be an engineer because you're so precise about everything. Like
Yeah.
if I were
That can be a
lost
good thing or a bad thing, Roger. It can be both. It can be
well, if I were lost in the woods with nothing but what's in my pockets, I would want George with me because he would like MacGyver something and get us.
MacGyver, yeah.
It took me years to figure out the way George thinks, because sometimes in the mustard seeds, I would ask him something, and I didn't know he was still hyper focused on what had just happened before I asked him this. He just has this focus, which is great for engineering and stuff. I just didn't understand it at first, but he needs to, and I'm becoming that way now more, where I need to finish everything I start before I move on to something else. And that's the sign of somebody once they get their head in a mix, And I'm sure, George, you probably take breaks and stuff when you mix too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You have to, because sometimes you can get, if you just continue in that moment, you can go down a rabbit hole that absolutely accomplishes zero.
Yeah.
You'll spend an hour on something, and at the end of it, if you take a break, you come back and listen and go, good Lord, I just wasted 45 minutes, because you'll listen to the mix that prior to you saving it to what the changes you made, and you go, it was better before than what I just spent 45 minutes doing, So yeah, definitely taking frequent breaks is a way to kind of, keep your judgment fresh, and especially, sending it to you guys, sending MP3s, hey, am I crazy? Is the vocals too loud, or are the vocals too quiet? Is the drums this, or always those things. And that input with your guys' fresh ears, because last time you guys listened to it was when you tracked it, when you did the vocals or your bass, or Roger did the drums. So that's the last time you guys hear it. And then when I mix it and send it to you guys, that input is always so welcome. It would kind of be reassuring. And then, yeah, you know what? You're right about this being a little wrong, or, put this a little louder, or just all that input was so helpful. It was definitely a bonus for me.
Too late to change a couple of things?
Hey, I still got the files right behind me right now, buddy. I saved
Well,
everything.
I read. Oh, I love the dog. What's his name?
That's Sluggo.
Sluggo.
Oh,
Yeah, no. He's not a big sports
Adorable.
guy, but
He's more of a jazz man, right? So,
yeah.
He's
so
just
I read in.
rubbing that in because we lost our dog Buddy a couple months ago. So thanks, Roger.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm
Well,
sorry about that.
you can borrow my Basset Hound for a while if you want.
So I read on the one sheet that you guys were never ever together in the studio to record this album. Was that? I mean, have you guys
Intentional, yes.
have you guys considered maybe seeking out a counselor or something to remedy this?
Yeah, the smells were pretty nasty. So I don't think together they kind
Well, it
of.
is the Squirts. Come on.
It's all pending diet, the smells are all pending diet.
Georgie Cakes moved to Nashville, and he and his family moved out there years ago. So that was physically impossible. And Roger's pretty honed in Woodland Hills, and I'm in Orange County. But you know what? I mean, I think everything's come such a long way over the years, especially with COVID. People just learned kind of how to do that, how to make a record sound live without missing too much, and pop music, sometimes it's a little bit easier than with jazz or something like that, but it just, we're all older, so we've been doing this forever, and we're not the best at it or whatever, but we kind of know what we want to do, and now we all have our own studios, so it kind of really helps out, and it actually makes things a lot faster, because I know, like, if I was to look over George's shoulder and see what he's playing and go, hey man, try this, it gets a little creepy when someone's looking over, and when you really want to do something, try something, you don't want anyone to be in that room. I remember producing my brother's record that Steve I was playing. And this is one fight Greg and I got in the last 30 years. And I was producing the record, and my brother's going, "Hey, Steve's playing a solo, can you kind of," and I go, "Can I what?" And he goes, "Just kind of look over his shoulder." And, I'm going, "Greg, why would I tell Steve Vai anything about playing a solo? I mean, first of all, it's not my place, but I mean, that's kind of weird." And then we actually got almost into a physical thing about it. I was like, "I'm not going in there," so I know when you leave George alone or Rodger alone in a room with a song, they're going to come up with something way different than I would do, and it's always for the better. So I'm learning in my old age when I'm writing to just trust these guys because I know they're going to make it better. Like Rodger does not play any beat that any other drummer would play. It's always something completely different than you would think.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's bad.
There's definitely an advantage to having everybody in one room. I mean, things will happen that won't happen when you're on your own. But the big advantage of doing it separately is you're not worried about getting it down and getting people out of there so they can go home. You have all the time you want to try different things. So I think it comes out maybe even better in the end because you had time for trial and error.
Yeah, and I think that I'm all for the band in the room, first take spirit, let's go. But certain pop songs, like stuff that we do, it's kind of like organized chaos in a way. And like when I'm singing, I don't want anybody in the room. I want to just croon stuff out and make mistakes and stumble into doubling parts or tripling parts without anybody in the room. And I'm sure, George, with your guitar parts, I mean, part of the reason why I think your guitar parts was so great on this record is that you had all the time in the world and all the freedom to play whatever you wanted to play. And you probably tried a million things that you never kept. I can imagine the parts that are sitting on the floor right now that never made the record,
Well, absolutely true. The thing is that when you have the luxury of time and that freedom of it's just you and your other bandmates that are already on the hard drive, you're prone to experimentation, and you'll try one thing and sometimes you'll make a mistake. You'll forget what train of thought you were on, and you do something else, and when you play it back you're like, oh wow, and that would lead to another. So it's kind of a building process, whether it was accidental or whether it was meticulously crafted to be that specific part. But sometimes you just stumble into things. I know I would say probably I'd say half of this album I stumbled into things because I was like, I've listened to what you guys gave back, especially when Rodger would do. I mean, When You Die is a classic example of the first verse, what rhythm is played, and what Rodger played on the second verse directed my guitar, because I tried to play what I played on the first verse, and I'm like, no way, Rodger changed the beat, so let me follow that, which is, to me, is like way cooler. It all of a sudden changes a part. So I kind of stumbled into that, inspired by what Rodger played or what you would do vocally. It's one of those things. And the key word that you said was trust. I trust Matt's going to write the best melodies, words. Rodger's going to play the best because he's sitting there thinking about this. Both you guys are sitting there. We're all thinking about it in our own world. So you're going to do what you think is the best. And so I trust, full on 100% trust the guys to go. They're going to do what they do best.
That's what I mean when I say, we'll send a guitar, send George a track, and then whatever, a week later he sends back a track, and because, like you just said about that, there could be a note that you hit that you thought was wrong, and then the more you listen to it, you go, that's cool. So then you send that back to the guys, and our first reaction too is like, wow, what is that? And then and I'm learning the older I get to not react to whatever you guys send back, because it's, when you write songs all the time, you have your certain things that you're used to, like it should have an acoustic guitar part here, and then like on that song, what's the Yes kind of song, Over the Moon, when you on the first verse, you don't play the acoustic guitar until halfway through the verse. And at first I was going, why didn't you put the acoustic guitar throughout the whole verse? And now I listen to it and I go, that's like my favorite part of the song now. You know, it's like with recording, with not dropping a name, but with Elton, we'd be in the studio and there'd be all these parts that you were just going, that's not really right. It doesn't really sound right. But then I listened to it, and it's those parts that I thought that weren't that great are my favorite parts of the song. So that's the beauty, I think, of doing it this way. And the best thing is if we really don't like it, you can do it again or change a part. And there's only a few things that we struggled with chord wise and melody wise because we had a lot of harmonies going on and everything's got to make sense in the chords. We only had a couple of little discrepancies, which was pretty good, you know, for 10 songs, you know. So we've just learned to play nice with each other and be honest, you know. Like I just don't.
Absolutely. I mean, Over the Moon, when I originally sent that riff to you, you know, what I thought was the chorus was the verse. You interpreted it a different way than I did. Then when you sent it back, you sliced and diced it. And here, what do you think? You know, you preface it with, I hope you don't mind that I ginsued your song, but, you know, here, give this a listen. What do you think? And then when I hear,
you guys want to see something funny? Watch this. Watch this. Look. As soon as I start rubbing his paw, watch his tongue. Come on. You're not doing it?
Oh,
he's such a cute little pup.
he is.
You know, and when I got that, when I got it back from you, it totally made sense to me. I was like, okay, so now melodically, word-wise, and what you did to it completely made sense. And there was no balking for me saying, oh, I thought that was going to be the verse. It's just like, no way, this is the way the song is meant to be, the way you interpreted it, because you're writing the lyrics and the melody for it. So I'm like, this is
good. Yeah, it's kind of, oh, sorry, Randy, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say very quickly, it sounds to me from the outside looking in and listening to all this, it sounds like you guys had a lot more fun with it because there wasn't the pressure of anything. You're three friends just having fun with the music versus, correct me if I'm wrong, being in the studio with, not naming any names, but any of the people you work for or others, and it turns into a high pressure cooker, you know, watch the clock, you know, egos getting in the way, whatever. It sounds like you guys are just like back to garage band days, except with all of your years of experience that you get to bring to it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I think the beautiful thing is at our age and being played with different bands is we're all kind of guns for hire to play with different bands. I'm on the road right now. I'm in Baton Rouge. We're staying here today and then going to do a gig tomorrow in Texas. And so I'm out here and I'm working in the band. Rodger goes out on the road. George goes out on the road. We kind of all do our things. And then you always serve the person that's hiring you, you know, whoever the leader is. If it's Rick, you're the yes man to Rick to play his band, to play his stuff.
You're playing these people's hits, you know, so you got to play them the way they are, basically, you know.
Yeah. You just become a servant of the song and you do the thing. But the beauty of this thing is that we don't have to do anything. We don't have anybody waiting for our next record, or we don't have anybody telling us it's got to be this. And we have stuff that we send stuff to our friends like Jeff Moscow and Jay Gilbert to ask them like orders and like what should we do and stuff like that. But because there's no pressure, it's 10 times more fun. And like I said before, Randy, in another interview, it's like I got probably 30,000 CDs in my attic of things that nobody will ever hear. But what else are you going to do in your life? As a musician, you need to create and keep moving. And it's just about your purpose, you know. Once you stop writing songs, for me, it's over. You know, I can't retire and play golf and just fade away. You know, it's kind of something that we need to do. So because of that, it is a lot more fun because there's nothing to lose and really nothing to gain either, probably. But because who knows? I mean, hopefully our main goal is that somebody hears this record, somebody going through a hard time, somebody that's struggling with something, and the power of music, what it can do to help that person get through a day. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it happens to me a lot when I hear music and it
Same
lifts
here.
me up. And that's the whole thing. It's a spiritual thing to me, when especially having the responsibility of writing lyrics and having a message of a song to either lift somebody up or bring them down. We're just not fans of music that's negative and, I hate everything and whining and complaining. We're all still alive. We have great lives. We have great families. We just want to express that in songs and just try and, if we can lift anybody up in any way, that's what we'd like to do. So it's kind of a big deal in that sense, but that's the only pressure that I ever feel, is writing something responsible and good, but other than that, it's just three.
But
Yeah.
I would say on the opposite side of the coin of us having all the freedom and time in the world to experiment, sometimes you don't have that time. And I watched Matt and his brother come over and from scratch, write a song, record it, write the lyrics, sing it, and then go get a guest star on it in one day, in less than 24
I've
hours.
watched the series. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun to
song in a day.
watch.
And that to me amazes me. I don't even know how that's possible.
Well, I don't know why you'd say that, Rodger, because you do that all the time. Rodger is the king of having an artist come to his house, maybe a young girl or a guy or something that's never been in the studio before, and then Rodger has to help him with the song, produce it. And you talk about the king of wanting to get out of there fast. That's the guy right there. He wants to get in and
Very
out.
often. That's not true. That's not.
And so, Rodger, you do the same thing. I think after being this old and us doing this so long, is we know what our time frame is. We know how long it takes to get a drum sound. And fortunately, Rodger has drum set at his house always set up to go, okay, there's an hour to get the sounds, an hour to do this, an hour to fix this and write the thing. It's not really, there it is right there. Hey, go play a little drum solo.
What brand of drums do you play?
DW.
DW.
DW for 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
so do you know Rob Shanahan?
Yeah, the photographer?
Yeah.
I think everybody knows him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I used to feature his articles every month several years ago. He's Ringo's photographer too. So got a lot of that fun stuff. But so question for you. I ask each of you this to answer it on your own. And I used to always ask it just as which song would you use as a calling card, but I interviewed Chris Stamey a couple weeks ago with the DBs, and he said, well, he goes, I would reference this song as the gateway drug to the rest of the album. So however you want it, calling card or gateway drug, which song would you point to as being that for the rest of this new album?
They're all so different. Honestly, they really are. They're all so different, aren't they?
This is your time, Raj. Express yourself.
I don't even know how to answer that. I'm sure someone would have an opinion on it, but I think they're all so different. I don't even know how you would choose a gateway into it. We put out a video on the song about Not a Good Time for a Clown, and people might hear that and go, oh yeah, that's a cool song. But then they'll hear another song of ours and we sound like, the Foo Fighters or something for a second, or whatever. Like we'll sound like Yes, or the Police, whatever. But I think that's a lot of Matt too. He kept this thing not sounding monotonous.
Hey, Rodger, you got to show everybody your snare drums. Show that big rack of snare drums. Check this out.
Holy cow!
He's got like a ton. Wow. He's got how many are in there? Like 40?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I only use 2 of them.
Yeah, isn't that funny? That's what usually happens with these drummers. You come in with all that stuff. So I'm going to answer my gateway drug answer for that question. I think because the music is so different on each song, because we don't have any parameters in the old days. Like I think even in the Squirts, the first 2 Squirt albums, they were kind of more formatted to be kind of similar sounding. And this one, we just said, this song is super crazy, hard, like White Noise is like real heavy. And then there's like an old Squirts sound of like a fast double time rock thing. But I think the gateway drug answer for this is the way we approach the vocals and the lyric lyrics of the songs. Because it was started during COVID, we were all just so frustrated with what was going on, about how what was deemed essential and unessential, which is the biggest crock ever, I think, that we've had to swallow. That a liquor store would be open, a topless bar place would be open, but you can't have a church open, or you can't have a library open, or whatever. It got so ridiculous that it kind of, in my mind, I wanted to write lyrics that kind of made fun of that situation, to kind of have, like, Not a Good Time for a Clown. That song definitely about how the thought police would, you sneezed and somebody would come by and pick you up and take you away, and how ridiculous that whole thing was. And like, Funny You Should Ask is the one that gets me. When I hear it, it makes me laugh, because every day somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hi, how you doing?" And you go, "Oh, good, good." You just have that passing thing. But then somebody asks you, "Do you really want to, are you really asking me, do you really want to know how you doing?" It's funny you should ask, because here's what's happening. Blah, it's just like, okay, here's what's wrong. And then the whole song talks about everything that's messed up. But even at the end of it, having optimism to laugh about it. So all these songs, to me at least, are like heavy topics that are kind of like drilled down to being, it's not, this world is temporary. We're going to leave it someday. So just make the most of the situation. So that's my drug thing.
George, how about you?
What do you like, George?
And I'm glad Matt said that, because I mean, Matt wrote all the lyrics and melodies for the songs, aside from the songs that he wrote. But he was the lyricist, so the ideas, to me, that is the catalyst to theme to the whole entire album. Yes, the songs are different in their composition, in their sound, in their approach, and that, but the theme and how Matt constructed the lyrics is the common thread through all those songs. Because I keep on, I'll go back on, if I got a long drive or something ahead of me, I'll throw in the album and I'll listen to it from beginning to end, and it's consistent in that theme. And so I mean, I have to concur with Matt that he did a brilliant job on writing this album lyrically. I don't know, I'm not a wordy guy, I got nothing to say to nobody, but he did such a great job. It blew me away. There's some serious topic, there's some fun, just tongue-in-cheek topic, but it's a consistent theme, and it's a wonderful roller coaster for me. What some of the serious songs Matt wrote are really, I mean, just really thought-provoking for me, because of some of the stuff I was going through. I was like, wow, it hits me every time I listen to it, and I'll hear another line that I'm, golly, gee whiz, that's a great line. That's a real wonderful group of words that just say something so, just so amazing. So
Thanks, Georgie boy. Georgie boy. I love you, Georgie boy.
Well, I was never, you got to understand that for me, think of Charlie Brown. When I listen to music, the first thing that I listen to is the music, the drums, the guitar, what's the bass doing? The lyrics to me are wah, 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 wah. That's the last thing I listen to. And this was, as I'm aging and I'm listening now, I'm like listening to the melodies and what the words are saying. The music now is kind of, it's secondary, or it's 50-50 in my approach to listening. And it's taken all this time for me to, go from listening to the music first to now listening to, wow, what's being said in this song? What's the message of this song?
So I should probably listen to the lyrics at some point, huh?
Yeah, especially since you're a third of the writers. But you know what, George? Maybe that's an old guy thing too. Maybe
it could be.
Get that you start looking different at music and stuff like that. And by the way, I was I got somebody calling me here. Sorry. Am I back?
You are.
Yep.
You never left.
Oh, he disappeared. Oh no. He'll come back in. We'll I'm sure he'll click back in.
While he's gone, I just want to set the record straight that I wrote all the tunes, and I just let these guys ride my coattails. I'm just saying.
There he is. Hold on there.
Roger.
Uh,
So
turn your
sorry,
phone the
guys.
other way. There you,
Oh my gosh, that's
there you
hilarious.
go. There you
Sorry,
go.
somebody called me and the end of the world happened. But hey, George, I forgot to mention in another interview we did last week, I'm not singing all the vocals. You guys are both singing. George, you're singing a little bit in there too. So great singing, by the way.
Well, thank you
By the way, I watched
for the
the
singing.
interview you guys did. I guess it was about a month ago, and it was with I'd never heard of the guy before, but I loved how he handled. I want to go listen to some of his other interviews. Is it Bad Brad?
Brad,
Yeah.
Brad.
Yeah. I loved how. I mean, clearly he's a musician, so it's a little bit different vibe than it is, from the way I approach it. But he did a great job with you guys. I loved, how he approached from his perspective the whole album and how you guys did it. He did a phenomenal job on that.
We're very thankful that we've had, I mean, you're always you do your work, you do your research, and you ask great questions. And same with Brad. He's a great guy. You guys are great guys, and it's just an honor that you guys would even want to talk to us. We appreciate it.
Oh man, I wouldn't have it any other way. So what are you guys going to do from here? I mean, when you get done talking to bozos like me, what's next in
I'm
support of
hungry.
this
I may
album?
go get a sandwich because I'm hungry. Oh, you mean in general what we're gonna do?
Yeah, just
God.
career wise in this album, So I'll make you a sandwich. You may not like it, but I'll make you a sandwich.
Well,
It would have to be a ham.
A lot of people are asking if we're going to play live, and I mean the reality is who would come and see us? I hate to say that, but it's the reality of it. But we're not opposed to it. I mean, if this record label, because they're the ones that really want to get us to do some shows, if they can get us a good slot somewhere, opening for someone or a smaller gig where it's our gig, I think we could do it. I think the guys would want to do it if they were in town,
Well, there's enough songs from the first two CDs and this Squirts 3 that we could probably compile a halfway decent set list.
Yeah.
I saw that House of Pancakes was looking for a morning band in Orange County.
From
That's
2 to
the kind of
4, right?
audience we need.
Just
We
an
need a
option.
built-in audience.
So maybe Roger, you should go bug Rick again and see if he can open for.
You know what? I bet he would let us do it. That's the kind of guy,
Yeah, he probably would. He just sent me a text yesterday saying that he was listening to the record and he really liked it. That's the thing, man. That he's just a good guy, and Rick just loves good music, and he loves good music that his friends are doing. So this is a Rick. This is kind of a prop Rick Springfield up podcast. So
Yeah.
Well, he definitely supports his friends, that's for sure. The people in his band, even people, past members in his band that have played with him, he supports them too. He's just a pretty genuine guy, and he's a music lover. I mean, I've sent him stuff that of other bands. Like, hey Rick, check this band out. Sure enough, he's like, wow, this is crazy stuff, and he's definitely a lover of music. He enjoys.
Yeah, I remember when I was helping him produce 3 of his records, and this band, the Squirts, played on his records. And I remember, George, you'd be at the airport and you'd give him Porcupine Tree or something, or some Muse or some kind of different band back then, and he would genuinely listen to it, and we would eventually throw that kind of style into a song for his records. So, I mean, one of the good things about the Squirts too is that we've been in the studio a lot together, and we've done 2 records with this version of the Squirts, and then a 3rd record with Jorge, Rick's new drummer. But
Yeah.
it just really helps a lot to be in the studio with guys that are your friends and that you've played with enough that you know what they can do, and it's just a bunch of good friends. That's all I got to say. I love you guys.
Well, from from a fan and outside looking in perspective, I can say just in my experience, I'm in my 17th year doing this now, just for the love of it.
Cool, Randy.
And I'm approaching somewhere around 600 interviews, and I've got to interview a lot of the people I grew up listening to on the radio. Still a lot more who I'd like to talk with, but what I've learned when I started doing this, I was afraid that here I am. I'm not a journalist. I'm not, not a DJ. I'm just a fan who loves the genre and of our times growing up and all that. And finally getting to talk to all these people had something to do with the soundtrack of our lives. And so I was very concerned that because you read these stories in the press of what kind of jerks these people are in real life. And what I have found in all this time is that the artists themselves are generally pretty cool. It's the management and the people around them that if there's going to be a jerk, it's going to be them. And it's, to a person, I have never, ever been mistreated by an artist. Had one guy write me early on who was drunk when he wrote the email. He didn't like that I used the word quaint to describe where we met. And I told him, look it up. And then he apologized.
Who was your worst interview?
Besides us.
Other than us, yeah, right.
Oh, you're going to make it tough for me to figure that. No. The hardest interview, not the worst, but the hardest, honestly, because they jumped on me earlier than they were supposed to. I was doing it in my car. This is back before I did the Zoom thing. And I could tell the person, when I mention his name, you'll know why I'm saying this, it was hard for me to connect with him. And it was also happened to be the absolute shortest interview I ever did. And that was Brian Wilson.
Oh,
Wow.
And I did research, but I didn't do the research that I now know I should have, or I would not have been caught off guard with how he came. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not bad mouthing him, but it was clear that there was, I didn't realize mentally how the challenges he was facing at that. And this was 8 years ago, thereabouts. And so before he was, put into with a trustee and all that. But the interviews on my website, that chat was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That was
awesome.
But hey, I got to talk to Brian Wilson.
2.5 minute hit song.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Plenty of room there for the voiceover of the DJ. But no, it was, I'm not complaining about it. It was just, I got to talk to a legend. So that was cool. He didn't mistreat me or anything. He wasn't rude.
It's like everything, a learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to talk with him again, which is highly unlikely to happen, I'd be more prepared. And I would try to talk to some of the people around him just to say, hey, I don't want him feeling uncomfortable or anything like that. What can I do to make this a better experience for him?
No, it's kind of hard to prepare for that. That guy is a musical genius. And I remember being in the studio recording one of his songs years ago. And he walked up right behind me when I was learning the part. And he goes, hey, I play bass too. And I was like, yeah, you do. You do play bass. And he was like the nicest guy. But yeah, I mean, he's just such a genius up here, and it's unfortunate, that situation. But I'm sure you did your best, Randy. So don't hover on it.
Oh, I don't. I mean, it's out there. You can listen to it. And I brought in a DJ to give me some stats on him and all that when we mixed it together. It's kind of rough still, but I mean, it was an honor to talk to him. I'm thrilled that, and since then I've talked to people who know him and all that, and they've essentially said the same thing. But other people. I mean, Matt, you're going to be in the Austin area. I don't know if this guy will be playing, but there's a great guy there that a lot of people have not heard. Monty Montgomery, great acoustic player. He did the riffs on the Last Man Standing TV show and does a great version of Little Wing and Sarah Smile. Great artist, kind of a Tommy Emmanuel type maybe, and then of course Jimmy Vaughn lives down that way too. But
crazy. So much talent, in the world. I don't know how the Squirts will ever get to number one. I don't know.
By talking to me, Matt, I thought we understood this. So, by the way, how were the tamales I sent you last week?
The tamales. Did you
remember our text back and forth?
I'm sensing some favoritism here.
Yeah,
No.
well, I am the lead singer.
I told him I would text him tamale, and so he said, "Send that over to me." And I asked
Oh,
him if he
okay.
wanted extra corn. And then
Yeah.
we were supposed, guys. Here's a story. I'm gonna cast some shade on Matt. We were supposed to meet after their part of the show. Leaves me high and dry. I mean, just abandoned me. So I'm outside the venue and I'm singing Superstar to whoever will listen to me. Thought you told me you loved me, baby, and all.
Did that really happen at the gig? Did you really get stuck outside?
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. By the way, I got the tickets came from, and I felt bad for you because you were wondering if I had the backstage pass thing, but I
Yeah.
didn't get the tickets through you. I got them because I interviewed Lawrence Gowan a month or so ago. And tell you a quick, funny
Yeah.
Lawrence Gowan story. This really happened. This last time I interviewed him, I don't know what possessed me to do it. I didn't have it written down, but I asked them about the impact of South Park doing Sail Away on their shows and on their music. And I thought, this is either going to be really cool or it's going to kill me. And I don't know which it was. And he was really, I mean, he answered it. It was fine. Next thing I know, when that thing post, what was that? UCR, oh gosh, I can't remember, something Classic Rock, the magazine, UCR, and two or three other publications picked it up. And I mean, everybody was quoting that interview about the impact of South Park on Sail Away and other bands who wound up being on South Park and on
Oh,
this.
man.
Many years ago, many years ago, I had that conversation with Kip Winger, and because they really thrashed on that band. That's a great band, some
I
one
know,
of my
man.
favorite
That was
drummers.
bad.
But
Yeah. That's bad.
yeah,
Well,
that's
guys,
brutal.
this was a lot of fun. As always, I look forward to hearing how this album goes for you. And hopefully there'll be more albums coming out by the Squirts and I get to talk to you some more. And George, if you're going to come camping out here, give me a heads up. We'll meet up for breakfast,
Oh, I'd
lunch,
love
dinner,
to.
coffee, something.
We've been
And
talking since we moved to Tennessee here. We're kind of nature going people. So yeah, I got to get out to the Smokies.
the only advice I'll give you is look to see when Rod Run is taking place here. And don't come when that's taking place because
Oh, really? Okay.
it's total gridlock there. A lot of cool cars, but total gridlock.
I will heed your words, Randy.
You will love me for it too, because if I wasn't my dad's caretaker, caregiver, I'd be out of town each weekend those take place. They happen twice a year. So.
That's some inside Tennessee stuff, man. I like it.
Well, guys, thanks a million. And separately, if any of you guys have anything else going on and you want help in getting the word out, just drop me a note and we'll set up one of these. We'll talk about it.
Cool.
Randy, you're the best. Thanks for having us on, buddy. Have a
Thanks,
great
man.
day, huh?
Thanks for joining me.
All right,
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Squirts. Squirts.